Meow Mix Anthology.
Presenting the bongo cats for Meow Mix. Meow, 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 man, meow, 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 meow. Only Meow Mix has the 3 flavors cats love best: tuna, liver, and chicken. And taste so good, cats ask for it by name. Meow, 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 man, meow, 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 meow. Meow.
I'm a scat cat for Meow Mix.
Meow, 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 meow.
You know, only Meow Mix has the 3 flavors cats dig the most: tuna, liver, and chicken.
Meow, 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 so dip, meow, meow, so dip, meow. Tastes so out of sight, the cats ask for it by name. Meow.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome. I'm Shelly Palmer, and welcome to the Strategy Hacker live stream. I'm very happy to have everybody here. It is a gorgeous day here in New York City. Really nice outside. Went for a long 4-mile walk this morning and just was marveling at how fantastic it is. If you are here, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's see. Chat's where it's at, so please jump on the chat, YouTube Live. Please jump on the chat and say hey. Tell me where you are. Tell me what's going on. And let's see. I'm looking at chat stats, and it says that we're having all kinds of crazy problems with streaming today. So let me know how the stream is looking, because I'd really be interested in finding out how that is. Says that we are having low streaming bit rates, which is weird because we're in a constant bit rate world. So I don't know what that's being caused. Hello, LinkedIn people. I'm very happy to see you here. Welcome. Jeffrey and Jim, welcome. And Jefferson, welcome. Glad you guys are here on LinkedIn Live. And I'm very happy to see everyone here on YouTube Live. Thanks for the meow conversation. I'm glad YouTube looks great. I'm excited. Hello, Steve Catola. Welcome. I'm just getting everything ready here right now so I can see everybody and see everything. Very happy to see everyone. Torre, welcome. Howie Schwartz, always. It's not a party list. Howie Schwartz is here. That's the thing. Nabil, welcome. Now, all of you on LinkedIn Live, you may not be able to see the YouTube Live chat. And I apologize for that. I truly do. I don't know that there's much I can do about it today. We have done everything I have done everything I know how to do, and we've done everything we know how to do to try and figure out how to put these things together based on the APIs that are available. And it has been a little weird, but I'm glad it's all looking good. And welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to cover some amazing stuff. We've got Parler's back online. Apple's got a whole bunch of new stuff that's amazing. Then there's the Apple versus Facebook insanity that's coming up. Coinbase went to a direct listing last week and is worth a ton of money. We'll talk a little bit about corporate Zoomicide today. We're going to talk about something wonderful. Something's happening, something wonderful. And the Rolls-Royce Ghost is worth a fortune now. Hello, Twitch peeps. I'm glad you're back. I'm very happy to see you. And I'm glad that everything's looking good. Sumith, welcome from LinkedIn. And Rahul, welcome. Now, everyone who's on chat, please tell me where you are. Tell me what's, and then you should tell everybody a little bit about what you do. You know, LinkedIn guys, you're going to be in your own little island, so I'm glad you're there, but I've got you covered. And everybody who's on YouTube Live, we're happy to have you here. We really are. Today is AMA. You can ask me anything, so please do. Again, chat's where it's happening, so let's do something on chat. Let's make it all happen. I want to jump right in today. This has been a very busy news week across almost every every area that we cover at the Palmer Group. Parler is back online this week, or any minute it'll be back online. Apple has announced that if they meet the standards and practices criteria that they've set out, that they are willing to let Parler back in the Apple App Store. That is a giant deal. Now, they've been in the Android App Store they've been available on Android the entire time, because there are more. Google Play has an Android, the official store, but there are other kind of app stores that service Android. So Parler has been available on Android devices. It has not been available since early January, right after the insurrection. It has not been available in the Apple App Store. So at the end of the day, Apple said, hey, if you can moderate content, we'll help you get it done. Let's see, Jeffrey, what are you asking me? I still don't understand how hard goods make any sense as NFTs. Watches, sneakers make no sense to me. We will talk about NFTs today. I promise you we will get there. It's a story that everybody wants to cover every day. And we'll go deep into it later in the hour. For sure, we're going to go deep into NFTs. Everybody is interested in that subject, and I am too. I've been working in what we lovingly call tokenized content for the better part of 5 years. And it lost a little bit of steam at the beginning of the pandemic because we were all worried about the pandemic. And we had gotten actually very far in the use of some NFTs, or the use of tokenized content and the use cases where it would make sense. And then NFTs hit. So NFTs have really taken 100% of the press away from any other kind of tokenized content. We'll certainly cover it. YouTube friends, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Again, chat's where it's at. You're not supposed to ask this in the real world, but if you guys would hit the like button in YouTube, or the subscribe button, or if you wouldn't mind the like or the little notification bell. Apparently YouTube loves it when you do that, and it makes me more important to YouTube. So I appreciate that, YouTube folks. So let's talk a little bit about Parler. If any of you guys want to weigh in on that, I got an amazing amount of email on that story yesterday. Some people were confusing that with First Amendment rights. It's not a First Amendment issue. First Amendment simply says that the government can't tell you what to think, do, or say, and can't, write a law that tells you what to do, think, or say. But private companies, and Facebook and Apple and Microsoft and Google and Amazon, they are all private companies. They're publicly traded. That's a financial instrument they use to fund themselves, but they're owned by private people, and the First Amendment doesn't apply. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about Parler coming back. One, as an aside, sometime later this month, it's got to be any time now, I would say sometime later this month, Facebook's oversight board is going to weigh in on whether Donald Trump's Facebook account should be put back online. Don't know how that's going to go. That could be real interesting too. They're all sort of related. AWS is silent. Google hasn't said a word, except what they said in January, which is that if Parler meets their standards and practices, then they'll let them back on. So if you want to talk about Parler, I'm happy to talk about it. One of the big stories this week was yesterday. Apple, our friends at Apple. Let's see what we can do here about that. Our friends at Apple. Let's have a look. Yep, here's our friends at Apple. And our friends at Apple announced all kinds of great stuff yesterday. I mean, all kinds of great stuff. There's new iPads, and we're going to build an iPad online in 1 minute because I'm stunned at a couple of things about the iPad. So we're gonna go on apple.com. and we're going to build one. There's some new iMacs. They are very thin. They are so thin, in fact, that you can't put an Ethernet cable in them. They have a dongle or some methodology but not plugging it into the iMac. Okay, great. We're going to have some new iMacs. They're all going to be based on the new chipset, the new Apple M1 chipset. AirTags, if you care about AirTags, AirTags are coming, and they are so that you don't lose your phone. You tack them onto stuff and they go ding. New Apple TV, that came out yesterday. We have an article at shellypalmer.com. I'm just looking at all this stuff. The $29 AirTags are interesting, but let's get to the part that just just totally, that just totally made me laugh yesterday. Let's just see if we can go to this monitor here and let's just see what happens when we do it. Oh, there's my Nyan cat. Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the iPad Pro. And I got to say, it's a good looking, stand, and that all makes sense to me. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit just so you can see the immense quality of this website. Because if you're going to sell an iPad for the amount of money that this group is about to hit you for, you ought to have a pretty website. It's going to have a Retina display. But here, let's go price it, shall we? So we are now on Apple.com, and it's buy an iPad Pro. So let's buy an iPad Pro. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to choose a 12.9-inch iPad Pro because that's what everybody wants to. Can I make this bigger for you guys? I think you're probably going to want it a little bigger, right? So you can see it. Is that better? Good. Okay. So you got to have it in space gray if you're me. I mean, I just think that space gray is the best and happiest of all the colors. Now, you can get it 128 gig, 256, but no. 512, but no. A terabyte iPad? Sure, you can have a terabyte iPad, but why bother? Because what you can really have is this insane 2 terabyte iPad. Now, I just do Wi-Fi. I don't do Wi-Fi plus cellular because I don't know why I would need a cellular iPad. But let's go with the just Wi-Fi only. I want to have some, reasonable approach. I'm not going to free engrave it right now. This, by the way, is the price, $21.99, but we're not done. We're not close to done because we got to add Apple Care. So let's add Apple Care, a one-time $149 charge. All right, I think that's going to do me. Let's put it in the bag, shall we? Oh no, you can't now. We can't put it in the bag because it's not ready to be done. Oh well. Okay, $21.99, but really no, that's $2,200. It's really $2,350 because remember, Apple Care is $149. I mean, I gotta say, as things go that cost money, man, that's just wow. That's just a lot of money. $2,350 for an iPad. Now, yeah, it's the best iPad that they've ever made. It's, amazing, and it's iPad. But, ladies and gentlemen, seriously, is that where we are now? $2,350 iPads. Now, you can have a MacBook Air for that. At this point, you could probably have 2 of them. You can have a low-end iMac for that. You can have an insane gaming PC for $2,300. Insane. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of things you can have, but this stunned me today. It just did. So, but God bless Apple. There are, they are not the low-cost provider, and so I got to say, it's some pretty good stuff. If you're a lover of iPads, I can't imagine why you would do that, but yeah, that's my cost for mining. $2,000 return. It's really funny. You're 100% right, by the way. So, one thing I'm going to ask you guys, or just tell about. I know a lot of you are PGX members at PGX.tech, and if you aren't a PGX member, it's our private social network. There are over 3,000, actually close to 3,100 members now. You'll have a great time there. Every day there's conversations like the one we're having now, only they're 2-way and 3-way and multi-way. What a great group of people. PGX.tech, you are all welcome to join. It is an invitation-only network. You've got my invitation. You can find a link in the description that's in the channel you're watching. So please feel free to come and join us at PGX.tech. All right, moving on a little bit. The iPad thing, yeah, it's definitely a thing. I want to talk a little bit about the Coinbase direct listing. And we know that there's been a bit of a bubble there. We know there's been a bit of a bubble, and that bubble is it's a volatile world, I guess the only way to describe it. You won't be able to see. This is too small. I think I'll have to go to a full monitor here. Let's see if we can full up this monitor and give you guys something that you can look at that's maybe a little bit bigger. And we'll just have a quick look at the price of Bitcoin right now. It's at $55,000. That's down from 63, 64 last week. Binance is up to 572, but that's still down about half a point. Look, Dogecoin, you know, this thing, everybody's talking about it's going up to $1. It's at 31 cents. I don't know if it's going up. Chainlink, we're going to talk about. Chainlink is amazing. They are the Oracle software. They've got the link currency of their own. I'm just scrolling down here to see where our friends are in Helium. They could be in the 90s. Where let's just scroll down. Wow, I really have to scroll down. Let me just quickly go down and see if we, no, it's not even on the first page. So yeah, that's fascinating to me. Helium is something I've been watching very closely over the last little bit. So the crypto bubble, there seems to be three groups. There are the speculators and the finance guys who are like, everybody's just hitting this thing and they're treating it like it's gambling or open season. And if you go on YouTube, you will find hundreds, I mean, literally hundreds of people who are making videos about how to trade. There's trading software of every kind. People are doing all kinds, everything you would expect, as far as trading and speculating. So yeah, you know, that's that group. Then there are the miners, where the stuff is mined, because not everything is mined. Some things are minted. Some things were initial coin offerings where all the coins have already been out or are already in circulation. So, but where there are miners, there's a whole mining community, and the mining communities have their own agendas. And then there are consumers, good old fashioned people who are going to use the blockchain, use the distributed ledgers, use the tools. That's what I'm interested in. That's what you should be interested in. That's what I'm interested in. And so we should definitely talk a little bit about that. Here's a question: why Dogecoin is taken that seriously, and why it's driven, why Elon Musk is focusing on it. That's from Sumit on LinkedIn. Thank you. There are a couple other LinkedIn questions here also on the same subject. And people are asking a little bit about what exchange I'm using, and let's see. Well, what exchange am I using? There are a bunch of exchanges that I care about, not from a purchasing standpoint, because I don't speculate in the coinage, but look, Coinbase did a direct listing. They had a market cap around $86 billion on day one. It's going to move all over the place because it's going to move all over the place. They're the largest Bitcoin and Ether exchange in the United States, but Binance is a much larger exchange and they're international. You can't trade in every state in the United States on Binance. Their BNB currency was an ICO. But what I really like about Binance is BSC, the Binance Smart Chain, which is where all of that's their blockchain, and all of the layer 2 solutions that they put together. Very impressive. Kraken is another exchange people really like, and it's got a lot of traction. And if there's going to be a frenzy of either direct listings, or if we're going to see either IPOs or ICOs, and I'm not sure which we're going to see, but we're going to see some of it to that level, when we do, if we do, what you're going to see is, Kraken. Gemini is another one. I don't know if you're familiar with Gemini, but they're also like right there, ready to either go public. I'm sure because of the negative press they've received, you've heard of Robinhood and eToro. That group, definitely. Jonathan Carmel, FTX, for sure. Oh, wow. William Voke, my son mined 100 Bitcoins in 14, sold them at $100 per. Possibly premature. Possibly premature. Exodus is another exchange I like a lot for some group that will go either public or will direct list. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. And like I said, Binance is by far the largest exchange, and we have to see what they're going to do. It's hard to know how this group is really going to how it's going to play out with Binance. Will we get to a point where it's you can trade on Binance here in the United States? Maybe. Jonathan Carmel and I have been speaking offline, or I guess privately, about what's likely to happen with central bank stablecoins. Now, last week, remember we talked about the yuan has a stablecoin. China has a stablecoin based on the yuan or pegged to the yuan. So, how many other countries are going to create stablecoins based on their fiat currency? And the answer is everybody's working on it. Although in Europe, they're pushing back a little bit. So it's not surprising because Europe is a kind of a push it back kind of zone. So yeah, a little nuts. Again, chat's where it's at. So please, if you are on LinkedIn or Twitch, you can certainly chat, tell us where you are. I'm happy to know where you are. Tell each other a little bit about what you do so that you can interact with each other. YouTube Live peeps, for sure. Tell me what you're doing. Ask me any questions you want to ask. I know there was a question a moment ago about NFTs that represent physical objects, and I think that is a great question. There was an actual house sold as an NFT last week, like a physical house, a real house, like that you could live in, and everybody scratched their head about that. I think the future may not be NFTs the way that the way that everybody's frenzied over them. Let's just say that. One of the things that I've been working on for years is tokenized content. And let's talk about the business model for a heartbeat, just for a second. What would you do with a distributed ledger and a smart contract? It's a really important question to ask yourself when you're sitting down and thinking about NFTs, or you're thinking about cryptocurrency, or the underlying technology, which is referred to as blockchain, but is truly a distributed ledger. So a smart contract, just quick remediation, is like any other contract, but it's digital, so that when the conditions are met digitally, something can happen. And generally what that means is when the conditions are met, some cryptocurrency is transferred, a title of something, ownership of something is transferred, a transaction occurs, it's written in a block on a blockchain, which makes it immutable and forever. You don't need to know the people you're dealing with. You don't need to trust them because the conditions of the contract aren't met. Then no deal is going to go down. So let's say that, and we'll use NFTs, non-fungible tokens, as just an example for a heartbeat here. So I have an NFT and I want to sell it. So let's see. I actually happen to have an NFT right here that I hand coded the other night. This is my little Saint Bernard. And what I did with my little Saint Bernard is, this is hand built. And what I did is basically I wrote using a whole bunch of test tools on OpenSea, and this is on their test net. What I did basically was I created a catalog and an environment where I could host a bunch of NFTs that were on the ERC 721 standard contract for a single NFT, and then a bunch on 1155 that would allow me to do collections. And I basically just tried to code all of this stuff. I wanted, this is a little Saint Bernard. I made about 3-4 dogs, and the goal was to have each of these have levels and make them little, so that they could have some attributes like cuteness. I want some information about the chain itself. I want to be able to understand what there are to know about this doggy, so that I put the description in here. So I made all of this for, this is all hand coded. But if you go on OpenSea or Rarible or any of the others, you can do this by just basically, if you can press save and upload, you can do this on your own. You don't really need any special tools. You don't really need any special anything. All you need to be able to do is read. And if you can read, you can do it. And so that NFT, if you wanted to buy it and it's sitting where I just put it, you'd make a bid. If I either could manually decide I want the bid, I'll accept the bid, or I could set just a number where we hit that, or I could do a Dutch auction where it'll level. There's any number of ways I could automate this sale. And yes, I can definitely paste the link to my little test. It's totally fine. I'll do that for you, Tom. So at the end of the day, when the conditions of that contract are met, the smart contract will write the new owner's name into the blockchain, and cryptocurrency will end up in my account. And it will happen in an automated way, and I will have nothing to do with that whatsoever. So just so we understand each other, here in my little crypto world, right here, it kind of tells you precisely and exactly the price history so that we know the primary market, tertiary market, whether this is the listing, these are the offers, make an offer. And then the chain info is all here, right? We know exactly where it's sitting on the chain. This is all because I did it on the Rinkeby network. You know when it was created, you know how it was done. I've really put myself in a situation where we understand everything there is to understand about this dog. And also my collection of doggies is here too, right? So I made this entire collection of doggies where you can see that I've spent some time listing my newly minted doggies that I've made, and who the owner is will obviously be part of this as well. So I'll be able to go back and look at each individual dog over time. I'll paste all this into I will paste all of this into the chat. That's a smart contract. That's what an NFT is. It's can you have a physical notion of it? I don't know whether there's a physicalization of that makes any sense. But what is important, really important to understand, it's really important to understand, is that if your business model does not require untrusted parties to do business in the future, and you don't have an automated transaction that's gonna happen later that you don't need to be part of, but you want a piece of, then you might as well just use a well-structured database and a secure password, because there's no upside whatsoever, none that I can think of, why you would need to use any kind of distributed ledger, any kind of smart contract, any kind of tokenized content. And certainly to tie that to a physical object makes not a lot of sense. Where it's been done, when we were just calling it tokenized content, where it's been done, title insurance. You know, you buy title insurance when you're going to buy a house. Somebody who is an expert in that goes and they research the title and they make sure that the person who owns the house really owns it, and they can actually sell it to you. And you buy insurance that the title that you've been given, you buy insurance that in case the title isn't real, you have some recourse, right? So that's sort of how that works. And the let me just paste this in here for Tom so that before I forget. All right, Tom, there's the little NFT test I've been working on. I've actually got, like, if you guys are interested, I've been working hard doing this thing. It's Python, Brownie. I'm running Ganache locally so I can have my own local test blockchain. I'm using Rinkeby and a Chainlink as the oracle, and I'm using Rinkeby, the Rinkeby network, and a couple other networks as test networks. And OpenSea connects there, so I'm like they have a little test net, so you can like put stuff up on OpenSea and see what the NFTs will look like. That was what I just showed you. But the actual guts of the NFT are sitting here on my computer, and the real blockchain I'm testing and the real smart contracts that I'm writing, which I'm writing 90% of in Python, they're all sitting here on my computer. And the magic here is the smart contract. How are you going to structure it? And then what is it going to look like? What's it going to include? What attributes are going into it? How is the asset described? How should it be described? What do you do for authenticity? And then there's another component which we haven't discussed, and it's a little too abstract and maybe too deep in the weeds for this group, but you need to be able to tie a larger asset into it's got to go in a database somewhere. And the only way to do that is to use something like IPFS, which is a distributed database, like a peer-to-peer database. So the stuff I'm working on, because I've got an idea of holding larger digital files, is tying a decentralized database to the blockchain itself, which is by its nature decentralized. And the problem that I'm trying to solve for, and it's been well solved, Chainlink is one of the oracles that I'm testing to see if I like. There's no point in centralizing an exchange between the distributed database and the blockchain, because then the transaction is centralized. You want everything to be peer-to-peer everywhere, so everything is decentralized. If you have to put something in a database, it should be decentralized. Whatever the unifying tools are, they should be decentralized. And of course, the blockchain is by nature decentralized. Or is it? Here's a big question. This is one I've been asking myself all week. Sometime in July or August, we're going to see layer 2 solutions. It's called Optimism from Ethereum. So layer 2 will have lower gas prices, meaning that there will be lower transaction fees. Gas prices are the term of art for transaction fees in the distributed ledger world. And faster transaction times. And of course, less damage to the environment, which is really important. So less damage to the environment, quick transaction times, and cheap. We like all those things. But we have to talk about this for a second. While we're talking about it, please ask some questions in chat, if you will. Ask some questions of each other. Feel free to interact. It is AMA. And if any of you are in the mood to send me an email, because what you want to talk about is more private than you want to put in chat, my email is Shelly@ShellyPalmer.com. It's actually my email. You will actually get to me, and I will be very happy to answer it. And if you've got questions, technical questions about NFTs, or if you really want to get some remediation, I've got a bunch of things I can help you, links and stuff we can send you that I think you'd enjoy, and that would maybe be helpful on your journey, your distributed ledger journey. All right, here's a question. The big mining pools and the miners that are most powerful, the most powerful mining operations, are not happy about the layer 2 solutions, because they go from proof of work, which is how miners mine. They prove by solving a mathematical puzzle that they have done the work, and that's how consensus is formed. And they charge gas prices or transaction fee. And actually, every transaction on Bitcoin or Ether or any of them go into a thing called the mempool, and with a bid for how much gas people are willing to pay for the transaction. The miners figure out what they want to do, and they do it. The miners are not very happy. But there are enough miners that are big, like the thing I'm doing over here. I think I showed you guys last week or a week or so ago, right? I think I showed this. This is my little mining operation over there. You can see it kind of grinding away. Let's see if I have a close up of the screen available. So we're banging out Ether here. This is my little Ethereum mine. I'm actually not doing this to make any money, although it's making about $10 a day now. I'm not doing this to make money. I'm doing this specifically to show how much electricity it's using. I'm writing a report for a client of ours about the damage to the environment that this stuff can do when, if you're not careful. But miners are very powerful. I'm in a pool on this. You can see I'm wondering if the pool is named here. It is. This server that I'm on right now is us1ethermine.org, and Ethermine is, I think, about the second. I think they're the second largest of the. I think they're the second largest of the mining pools in the world. So if you think about all the miners that are out there, there aren't that many that are really powerful. If you got 4 powerful miners or 5 or 10 powerful miners, and they have more than 50% of the capacity to mine your coins and write to the block, how's that decentralized? They're powerful enough to band together, vote on stuff. That makes no sense. So now we're going to go to proof of stake, right? So I have to stake my stake my minting facility, if you will. In a proof of stake environment, you become a validator because you're minting, you're not mining. There'll be few, maybe 25, 27 validators in a given, I didn't give you any number, but a small number by comparison to the number of miners. They're going to lock a ton of value up because you're going to stake your level 2 Ethereum stake in Ether. I think the minimum they're looking for is $64,000. That's roughly 32 coins at the moment, 32 ethers, ETHs. So, yeah, that's going to put $65,000 minimally at the moment. Lock it up, just take it out of circulation. And then that won't be enough because you become a validator based on the size of your stake. So, you know, people that are going to put, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, 50, I don't know how many millions of dollars people are going to stake to become validators. It's going to probably rival what the miners spend in equipment to become miners. When you go to Asia and you see these factories filled with graphics cards and these rigs that go on forever, and they're talking gigahashes or tera. I mean, these are massive, massive farms and factories that are able to do almost anything. And so you and I, none of us could ever mine a Bitcoin. That's out of the question. We don't have the horsepower to do that. And I could never, with this little rig that I have set up over here. I mean, this little rig, there's no way in the world this thing mines an ether. It's mining fractions of ethers. It's not, you know, we're talking fractions. We're going to get that little green thing says, you know, we're talking, I mean, nothing. If I wasn't in a pool, there'd be no dollars. This is making a few bucks a day, and it's not about the money. Trust me, it's not about the money. This thing is 100% about just understanding the damage to the environment. So the reason for this long-winded explanation about miners and speculators and users of the tools is that when we think NFT for a physical house and we think about the future of all this, you cannot help but wonder if it fulfills its promise of a distributed, decentralized tool set. Because if you've got right now a group of miners that are like the mining group in Star Wars that control part of the galaxy, and they're big enough to have a massive say in the policies of Ethereum, the whole organization. And we're about to see people go to a proof of stake environment where they can just put money up and then they can have a say. And so if it's 10 people become the voting block at Ethereum layer 2, the optimism layer, like I don't understand how that's decentralized. Now, I think there's a long way to go here before we fully understand the ins and outs of what this is going to ultimately mean, what it's going to mean long term. And I also think it's very important, if you're going to get into this, understand this is about as deregulated right now. Man, wow. I mean, it's the Wild West and then a little extra. It's not just the Wild West, it's the Wild West and something else. So please be careful. If you're going to do this, just be careful. If you're a speculator, you know what you're getting into. If you are someone who's thinking about use cases, love to talk to you about use cases, because I have a prediction about distributed ledgers and I have a prediction about blockchain. I think where we were a couple of years back before this frenzy started is really what's going to be true. I think we're going to see the internet rewritten. I guess the 4th generation internet, the Web 4, if we're already in Web 3.0, Web 4.0, I think it'd be written completely on the blockchain or a blockchain. While we're thinking about that real quick, I will just ask you to go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Amazon, wherever you listen to fun podcasts, but those are my 3 favorites. You can go to Apple, Google Play Store also. Google Play, Google Podcasts now has us also. My good friend Seth Everett and I have a new podcast. I think we're finished with episode 4 now, which is, we talked about streaming this week. Last week we talked about crypto. It's such a fun little half hour. I hope you'll spend it with us. Tech Stream with Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett. You can get it at Apple, Spotify, or wherever your favorite stuff is available. So please, and if you like it, let me know. And if you don't like it, I'm much more interested to know what it is that's not working for you. I'm pretty sure that we are going to see a fourth generation of the web now. And this fourth generation of the web is going to be pretty much written in a distributed fashion, distributed ledger. And what's going to be interesting to me, hey, Simon Applebaum, welcome. Glad you're here. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have like two really interesting zones show up. Maybe more, but like two interesting zones. One's going to be the government of China and things like that, where the government issues a fiat currency in a stable coin, and they use that to control everything, money, people, the world. We talked about this last week. China issues a fiat currency, the yuan, in both paper and in a stable coin that's pegged to their currency. One day, because everybody's on WeChat or whatever the app is that they end up ultimately on in China, one day, China outlaws paper money. Could you imagine living in a world where all of your money was monitored every day by the government, and at any time they press a button and they take as much wealth as they want and press two buttons and your wealth is gone, or they'll take it all? That's like, your brain hurts when you say that. So there's that dystopian future, which is not dystopian. They're testing the digital yuan right now. They're testing it. So it's not science fiction. It's science. It's applied science fiction. The other side, imagine a massive blockchain. Could be proof of stake, could be proof of presence, could be any one of the simpler methodologies. Secure, but not insanely so, just very secure. And imagine, if you will, that you built websites there and you built all your digital tools in this environment. It would be fascinating, because no one trusts anybody anyway on the internet. You don't know what's going on anyway. I think it would be spectacularly interesting to see what the fourth generation of the web would look like if I could do business with people I didn't know and pick up money around the world in various forms of crypto that could either be turned fiat or people would settle inside those currencies. I kind of like that in a weird way. So I'm wondering, like, I've got on my desk, I've got a bunch of NFTs, but I wrote a kind of a weird like framework for an Instagram clone that uses IPFS as its database and uses the blockchain for authentication, and you stake yourself into it. It's just like a weird concept. Probably won't go anywhere, but I haven't read a lot about other people doing this, but I know you can buy some URLs and you can buy some domains on various blockchains. It feels like 1995. It feels like we're almost there right this second. And that something amazing is about to happen. Speaking of something wonderful did happen this past week. And I want to take a minute to talk about it. Something happened, something wonderful. The Ingenuity on Mars. Mars is like 179 million miles away from Earth this week. It takes about 16, 17 minutes for light to get here. Electromagnetic radiation, you can't talk to Ingenuity. It had to be completely autonomous. And NASA actually didn't find out whether this experiment worked for 3 hours because a communication satellite that's orbiting Mars had to come into the right position in order to relay the data. So it wouldn't have mattered if they could or couldn't get in contact with it. They actually weren't in contact with Ingenuity. It flew under a minute, maybe 10 feet in the air. It's like 117 years ago, just outside one human lifetime, that Orville Wright flew at Kitty Hawk, about 120 feet about 10 feet in the air. If this doesn't make you smile, if you can't take a minute to just rejoice, literally rejoice in the idea that this helicopter on a planet with a fraction of the gravity of Earth, with an atmosphere that's 1% of Earth's atmosphere, with carbon fiber blades and solar powered and weighing 4 pounds, like an afterthought experiment for a couple $300 million that they just tacked onto this thing. And for the first time that I'm aware of, NASA was allowed to fail. Like if it didn't work, they were going to be cool with the whole thing. This one got to me. I really loved this. Everything about this made me happy. And I hope you can take a minute. I got some really weird emails from people who were telling me that we have so many problems here on Earth. And what are we doing in space? And why are we doing this? I was like, oh, come on. Really? Really? No, that's 117 years ago. 2 bicycle guys at a bicycle shop put together an airplane and they got it in the air. And I look at this thing and it's 2 carbon fiber rotors and a motor and it's 4 pounds. And while it is the highest tech helicopter I think anyone's ever built, it honestly looks like it was made with loving hands at home. And watching it fly in that very choppy little piece of video, I got a little misty. Because to me, this is what we're missing now, the level of inspiration and aspiration. I don't know where I started using or when I started using the term applied science fiction. But there is no more science fiction. It doesn't exist anymore. Other than faster than light travel and teleportation, both of which at the moment, currently understood laws of physics say would take more energy than there is in the observable universe, you can do anything. And if you can't do it yet, you can find a path to it. Some stuff is next to impossible, but not impossible. And could you harness the power of the entire sun? If humanity lasts long enough, they'll figure out a way to be able to take a lot of the resources available from solar energy, from space, and apply it. So what are we really doing? We're just on a path to getting there. And how do we get there? Molecular biology, mechanical engineering, applied sciences, computer science. Will AI help? Of course it will. I think all of us who are in this every day take it for granted at a level that we shouldn't. And this just reminded me in a visceral way that we shouldn't do that. Under no circumstances should we ever do that. So take a minute to rejoice. If you can find it online, go find that video. It's like 10, 15 seconds long. It's breathtaking. And if it's not breathtaking to you, watch it again and think about what it means. 179 million miles away on another planet. Man, that's something else. I'm going to ask everybody to do me a favor. I know all of you are, and I thank you all for being here today. And we're going to spend a few more minutes talking about some other stuff. Could you please open up your phone, laptop, whatever, a browser, go to your Twitter account and tweet something at Shelly Palmer. I don't care what you tweet. Could be nice, could be nasty. Doesn't make any difference. The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. I need you guys to let me know that you're out there. It's so funny. We talk about Twitter. I have a social stuff going up every day. And I just decided today we're going to flat out say, hey, you know what, guys? Go on Twitter and say something. You like this, you hate this, it's awesome, it's terrible, don't care. I'm a genius, I'm a moron, any of that. Whatever, however that works out, that's all good. Totally good. Simon Applebaum is asking a question here. And welcome, Simon. Tomorrow will be televised. Always a great podcast. And next episode is this Friday. Oh, yeah. Because, you know what's happening? Yeah, what's happening this week is, in fact, I'm I'm going to be on a panel there, Simon. Tracy Swedlow's having her TV of Tomorrow, TVOT. So yeah, I'm going to have a panel there with Seth Haberman. We're going to talk about deep fakes and all the insanity that goes on with deep fakes. Anyway, guys, please tweet if you can. The Grand Teuton Press is saying that AI is still fiction. At least normal people understand the words. AI is not fiction. General AI is fiction at the moment. And it's not out of the reach of science. It's out of the reach of our science. And there's a real difference between out of the reach of science and out of the reach of our science. There are at least a dozen tool sets you can purchase right now in SaaS models that will make you a better writer or write for you. It's a narrow purpose AI that does what it's asked to do, and it does it really well. There are any number of AI tools, narrow purposed AI tools inside of Photoshop right now that do things like remove the background automatically or do content aware fill. So there are any number of pattern matching and facial recognition tools out there that can do all kinds of things. Certainly when you set up an unsupervised learning environment where you've given a set of rules to an AI model and say, go into this massive pile of data and find me patterns, that's easy to do now. I mean, it really is. Certainly if you're doing supervised learning, it's even easier. Some of the breakthroughs in AI that we will understand more about later in our AI world have to do with where we are now to where what I guess we would call general AI or artificial general intelligence, AGI, as opposed to ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. AGI is some fantasy, fictional, non-well-described idea that a computer and a human are going to be on par with one another and the evil computer is going to take over the world. It is of science fiction lore, and people, like to talk about it. It's far easier to make a mistake with narrow purpose AI that will destroy the world than it is for an artificial general intelligence to do so. We're just not there. Sometimes people bring up the Turing test, Alan Turing being one of the most important figures in all of computer science. And the Turing test is, can the computer fool you into believing that it's human? And I will remind everyone who's worried about AI being science fiction or science fact, that the Turing test is not for computers to pass. The Turing test is for humans to fail. A very big difference. A really big difference. So yeah, I think we're in a world of applied science fiction. And to me, when I see something that I have really dreamt about as a child, what would it be like to be on another planet? What would it like to stand on the surface of Mars? What would it be like to get in a hot air balloon or in an airplane and take a trip around Mars the way you take a flight over the Grand Canyon and look at it, or the way you take a hot air balloon over Napa and look at the walnut trees and what have you. They did that this week. First one. So yeah, applied science fiction. It's the world we live in. So let's see. David Sharma, it's a giant space solar array has been conceived by a spot beam powered Earth. Yeah, all that stuff. There's, superhero heaven. You can think it up, it can get done. It really can. So look, I feel like we owe it to ourselves to be a little kinder and gentler about our jadedness. If I might, with one last shameless promo, I know many of you are salon partakers. We do these salons. I'm just going to invite everybody from LinkedIn who probably doesn't know about them. We do these salons from 11:05 to 11:30 every day, Monday through Thursday. On Mondays, we do education tech. On Tuesdays, same time, we do leading edge tech. On Wednesdays, today in the morning, my daughter, Alexis Zinberg, who is our vice president or executive vice president of client services and events here at the Palmer Group, she leads Women Championing Women, or Women Crushing Wednesdays, as I like to say. It's a big and popular group. Everybody's loving that, and they're doing a great job there. And then on Thursdays, tomorrow, You're all invited. Every one of you is invited to Technology Media Marketing at 11:05 to 11:30. That's basically where the Palmer Group started, as a technology media marketing and or technology media entertainment consulting practice, strategy and solutions for digital transformation in those areas. Wow, are we digitally transforming? And yeah, Simon, we are definitely going to have a lot of fun on at TVOT. That's Tracy Swedlow's thing. She has this whole thing, TV of Tomorrow. It started when there was this idea that there might be advanced television. I think advanced television is now called Netflix and Peacock and Discovery Plus and Disney Plus and Apple TV Plus. Apparently, there are a lot of pluses in the advanced television world. It didn't quite work out the way I think they were thinking about it, but we are living in a world where there's so much great content, and we're going to have a really interesting time of it, because next week, Facebook and Apple are going to go at it in a way that we have just not seen before. So the fist fight that's coming between Apple and Facebook is going to be a flat out celebrity death match. There's no other way to describe this. Facebook has been complaining about what this is going to be, iOS 14.5, like what they think will really happen. They've been complaining about this for the better part, literally since it was announced. What's going to happen in iOS 14 sometime next week, when you go to an app that wants your data, it's going to have to ask you. That includes Facebook, but all apps. So Facebook's contention is that, well, it's going to hurt small businesses. They can't get their third-party data out of iPhones, and, come on, Apple. Facebook makes a living off of this data. So while I appreciate that they feel that they are speaking up for small businesses, they're really speaking up for themselves. Tim Cook, it's on brand. They've been talking privacy day and night for a couple of years. If you remember, a few years back, there was that real interesting case with in the Obama, I think it was during the Obama administration even, they wanted Apple to crack open an iPhone 5. Was it a 5 or a 5S? Must have been a 5, because it was doable by a third-party Israeli company did it, because the secure enclave would have made it impossible for a third party to do it at that point. So it must have been a 5. And they said no, they weren't going to do it. Subpoena them all you want. They're not going to crack open. They're not going to put a back door in an iPhone. And they've been pretty adamant about that all day long. Thank you, Bishop. I appreciate it. So yes, I speak English all the time, I promise, because I don't really know how to speak any other languages. Although every once in a while I can order in an Italian restaurant. And if I spend any time in Barcelona at Mobile World at all, my Spanish comes back from 7th grade, and I can actually find a bathroom, ask about food on a menu, and occasionally even find my way around town, which is kind of fun. I'd love to speak Hindi. I would love to figure out how to do that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So anyway, Apple they've made privacy their thing. And Facebook, they've made selling ads their thing. These are not at odds by default, but next week, watch the fun ensue. And by the way, third-party cookies are going away from Google sometime soon. So between that and the opt-in stuff, which is going to take 90% of the people out of that data set, we're going to have a really interesting, and I do mean really interesting, couple of months coming up in the advertising business. Is this good or bad for television? We're going to find that out next week. Is it good or bad for advanced TV? We're going to find that out next week. We'll talk all about the minting and mining of NFTs in the context of the new internet, and we'll talk about distributed ledger technology in the constructs of what you can actually do with it for a business. If you've got a business idea for tokenized content or distributed ledger, please, please, please email me, Shelly@ShellyPalmer.com. I'm very interested to hear how you're thinking about it. If you've got thoughts about cryptocurrency that are not speculation, because I don't want to get into speculating. I'm not using a green screen. Thank you. This is the background in my house here. Yes, it's just not a green screen. I can even literally I can actually go on this camera and you'll be able to tell immediately that in fact, this is just me. So I can sit here on this camera. Anyway, guys, if you've got something to say about Bitcoin, I hope you do, please, or any cryptocurrency that's not about speculation or Wall Streeting it or any of that other stuff, just, please reach out to me. Again, it's Shelly@ShellyPalmer.com. I'd very much like to hear from you. Any ideas for NFTs, any idea for tokenized content, whatever that is, bring it. It's absolutely an open door policy when it comes to new ideas. I'm fascinated by this whole thing. We're writing a lot of code. We're doing a lot of tests. We're writing a lot of test harnesses. We're trying hard to just be good at this and really understand just where the future is going to lie and how that's going to feel and what's really going to happen. So you're all welcome to join us on that journey, because it is just that, just a journey. I honestly feel like it's 1995, 94, 95. I honestly feel like this is the beginning of the World Wide Web. This is like the Gopher versus the World Wide Web conversation all over again. Is there a new internet? And if so, what does it feel like? So look, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that to hear from you. I know you have a lot of things you could do at this hour, so I really appreciate you spending it with me. Again, if there's anything we can do for you, it's Shelly@ShellyPalmer.com, and visit ShellyPalmer.com, have a look around there and see if there's something that interests you. We do put out a newsletter every day. You're welcome to subscribe to that. And again, thanks for being here. If there's one last thing I'll leave you with, is just stay safe. We'll talk soon. Take care.